Hi, everyone. We're back here with Kelly Ross and Kelly Liston of Collins Family Ministries. We've spent a couple of episodes talking about who Shine and Collins were and who we are now and why we're stronger together. And we're going to continue in that vein today, talking about how you, as a member of the community, can come alongside us.
Yeah, so back, a year and a half ago now, when I came to Collins, I was praying like, God, how would you help me tell people that we need their help? Like, I need you to help me so I can help them, so we can help all of these kids who need you desperately. And as I prayed, I'm like, I need people who are praying for me. I need people who are praying for our organization. I need people who want to engage, like, with humans. You know, we came out of this COVID season where nobody actually engaged with other humans,
Correct.
right? They were just Zoom, everything. But we need people. We need, especially in the Collins home part of the piece, we need children who know somebody knows their name, their date of birth, the kind of foods that they like. You know, I want them to engage, and then we need people to provide. We need people who can look at an operating budget of $1 million a year and say, hey, I can help them solve that problem. Because if we all do our part, right? Like, the reality is $1 million only seems like a huge amount if you're one person looking at the million. Mm-hmm. You know, if there's a big group of us who are looking at that $1 million, it doesn't seem so big anymore. I mean, the reality is we need 365 ambassadors in this community who believe in what we're doing enough to say, I am willing to provide you with $3,000 a year. Right? That $3,000 a year, that's pretty palatable, even to somebody like me. You know, I work for a nonprofit, but I give to Collins every month at that $3,000 a year level. That's $250 a month. Not because I want to get on here on a podcast and brag about it, because I want people to see that I believe in what I'm talking about. Like, and it's not that hard, right? We're sacrificing going out to dinner twice now. I mean, goodness gracious. You go to Chick-fil-A for lunch for one person, that's $12 to $15, depending on what you get. So, you know, when you think about $1 million a year, it's only a really big number if it's one person standing alone trying to figure out how to do it. But the pray piece, the reason we start at pray and we end with provide is because it has to start with prayer. Just like Roxanna Collins, our namesake, just as she was known for being a prayer warrior, things change with prayer. Earlier, Kelly mentioned Jeremiah 33:3. It's funny. It's the first time I've heard you talk about that. It's also one of my favorite verses.
Oh, nice.
And I use it in all kinds of meetings because I'm just like, it's so simple. God has given us this mandate. Call to me and I will answer you, and I will show you great and unsearchable things that you do not know. Mm-hmm. Not things that we already know, but things that we do not know. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens in prayer. Mm-hmm. I've been studying Psalm 1. And it talks about blessed is the man, who does not walk in the way of scoffers. Blessed is the man but blessed is the man who meditates on my law, who thinks about my word, and who hides it in his heart. And I think that's what prayer does. It puts us in a posture and a position where we can be one with the Father. And, at Collins Home, one of the ways, or at the Collins Family Ministries, one of the ways we're looking at that now is we're asking churches. We're specifically seeking 52 churches. This is a very practical, listen to me, Pastor, listen to me. This is perfectly, this is doable, right? This is not impossible. This is practical. We're looking for 52 churches to adopt us for 1 week a year in prayer. That means that for every week of the year, we're covered by a church in our area for prayer. Right now, I think we have January almost booked up, if not already booked up. We have part of February booked up, but we've got a lot of other months that we need to get out there and do this. And we're calling it Churches for Change. We're looking for churches who are willing to come alongside. We've created prayer cards so they know exactly what to pray for those 7 days. We've given them some verse guidance, but really we want their church to have fun with it. We want them to be just totally bought into the fact that prayer is important and that we can't do this alone. We can't do this without them. And so that engage part of it, Kelly's going to tell you more about the volunteer opportunities inside Shine in just a minute. But, there's all kinds of opportunities to engage in volunteering, whether it's helping us provide meals to our residential children on campus, whether it's helping with mentoring and tutoring. Man, tutoring is a big need. Most of the kids who come into a group home or foster care, they're way behind in their education. And so tutors are a huge part of the piece that we need inside the Collins Children's Home area. And then obviously provide, I mentioned the $3,000 a year. We'll circle back to that, but I'm going to save that to the end. I'm going to let Kelly move on. I get really excited talking about money. If you don't like to be asked for money, then we might not need to be friends. But I'll let you take it from here, Amy.
Thank you, Kelly Ross. Kelly Liston, we wanted to hear more from you about the value of volunteers in Shine and what you're looking at going forward.
Okay, thank you. Volunteers are part of that Stronger Together, as is God, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't do it without him. So we start all of our board meetings with prayer. We ask, our young adults if they mind if we pray for them and if they have something specific, what they do. But our volunteers don't have to do that because some don't feel comfortable with it, and that's just fine. But one of the things in our volunteer training we talk about is human beings. We're human beings. And I know people have heard this before, but we want to move from being to doing. Like, we want to move away from doing. We really are human doings. Like, we're so busy we can't get to our need, and we want to be there. And so a big part of our volunteers is being there for the individual. And again, we have some that need just a little bit of help. The relationship is still very important. Building trust is very important. But there are some that need a lot of help, and it can't depend on their coach. It has to be several people. So we do need volunteers that will transport individuals to job interviews or go to the grocery store or to some of the workshop sessions. And we need life coaches because as we lower our age and extend out based on the need in our community, we need life coaches, and that means someone that's a being to be there and someone that can dedicate the time. And so we want backups for things that the life coaches do and look at individuals to see what else they may need help with that doesn't interrupt in the relationship they're building with their young adult. So workshop teachers. So there are things that we've learned, like some individuals don't know how to fill up their car with gas or a car with gas. And so it's like we would consider simple. It's just something they were never exposed to or not allowed to do, so they didn't do it. Same with cooking. So we need volunteers that will teach them how to cook for themselves for, an extended period of time and make things go further. Budgeting is something that's ongoing. So once they go through training that Ripple provides, their life coach has to be with them. We were thinking once a month, but we're learning it's really every week.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting because the volunteers have learned a lot about Venmo, PayPal, and what could go on a Venmo card. So we need people to do things like that. And then we have some that'll just do anything we ask them to do on events. We need Christmas presents wrapped. Anybody want to meet at my house on Tuesday night? Because we need to wrap about 50 presents. So, but the whole part of it is it's skill set for sure. Like, we have intake, we talk to the volunteers and see what they really want to do, but we also learn about their skill set in case we need to tap into that as well. But it's all about relationships. So it's relationship with the young adults. It's the relationship we have as a volunteer group. And so that they fully understand what we're trying to develop and get in front of as we're moving a youth along his path or her path.
Yeah, and I think relationships are so important. This last year, Kelly's Shine organization had over 2,000 volunteer hours. I just think that's amazing. Just in the tutoring piece at Collins, we had, I think, over 300 hours, and we had some counseling hours. And I mean, it takes time. It takes time. But again, if we all do our part, if we all look, and you know what? Guess what? I get it. Collins might not be everybody's cup of tea. And if we're not your cup of tea, that's okay. We ain't mad about it. Go find something that is your cup of tea, right? Get after it. Because what we want to do is use our lives to the fullest of their potential. And I think we all have that. And there's so many, especially in our area today, there's so many retirees who have retired early or they've retired away from family. And there's this great opportunity for them to invest their lives in others. And I think that's where clearly we all get very excited when we think about investing our lives in others and what that looks like. And if we choose to live an others focused and an others centered life, we truly imitate Christ and the saints who have gone on before us. And I just love the opportunity. I love that we get to do that.
I too.
And that's so exciting.
And it's on our website. Part of what we feel for our volunteers, anyone that's serving, is healing through helping. And so every time we've had someone that we've asked maybe a little bit more to do a little bit more than what they signed up for, and they say, okay, I'll do it. And there's something, you can just see them glowing and came back and said, I'm glad you pushed me, or I'm glad that you offered that opportunity to me. And it is kind of a healing, because when you do retire, you're like, what am I going to do next?
Yeah, my husband calls that voluntold. I'm glad you voluntold me to do that. But, I think that the reality is sometimes, we don't see our own value and what we can bring to the table, whether it's investing in the life of others or it's the kingdom work that we're investing in. And sometimes we just need somebody to come and put their arm around us and say, man, you can do this. This workshop on changing your oil or how to rotate your tires, man, we need some real dudes, right? Because for the most part, most of us run through Jiffy Lube.
Right.
That's what I do. But, that's an expense.
Yeah.
And a lot of these young adults won't have the money for that expense, but they certainly don't have the money that if they let their engine blow up, right? So how do we find that happy medium where they know how to change their own oil?
And it teaches them confidence.
Yeah.
They're like, ooh, that's my car, or a car that I borrow, and I can do this.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's so fun. And the other thing, my dad, when I was little, he used to say, never buy a car you can't afford to put tires on. Now, as a 5-year-old, that didn't make any sense at all. I can tell you, it didn't make any sense to me. But one day at like 25, I was like, I get it. So don't buy the Corvette, because the wheels on a Corvette, they're like more than the payment. Don't do that, right? You can't afford that. And so really being able to help young adults see that, it's not about buying the car. It's about buying the right car. And a car is just a tool, to get us from A to B. It's not a status symbol. It's not a symbol of who we are. So I think that having more ambassadors out there who are willing to give of their time, that's a huge part of us moving forward as a very sustainable organization.
Many hands make light work.
Yes. Please.
Yes, we would love to add many more hands to our volunteer group at Collins Home. And you can go right to the website to learn how to do that. It's Collins, F as in family, S as in services.org.
collinsfs.org. So we're excited about, changing to Collins Family Services. I think it's going to be great. And I think there's just so many things out there. But I am going to circle back because I do
Please
that.
do.
I circle back a lot. Because the reality is we can have great programs. We have great ideas. We have great services. But without funding, we're not going to be able to advance this very necessary, very worthwhile cause. And one of our aspirations is to be able to pretty immediately start providing housing for some young adults. And by the end of 2025, we would love to have 2 tiny homes on our campus or housing for 2 young adults. That would be amazing. We're just now working through the process of what that would cost. And I don't want to get into all of that yet. We've got some events this year that we will certainly be talking about how businesses and organizations in our community can sponsor homes. But there are some immediate needs that you can help us with. I mentioned earlier the 365 people willing to give $3,000 a year. That covers every dollar of our operating expenses for Shine, for Collins Children's Home, and any other service, counseling service that we might provide through that. And you can go to our website and give that gift today. Or you can be like me and sign up, become a monthly partner at the $250 a month level. For some of you guys, you might not have $250 a month. I get it. Times are tight. We just came out of Christmas. A lot of y'all spend it all. I don't blame you. Spend it. Have a happy Christmas. But there are ways that you can make a difference for as much as going out to dinner. For $50 a month, that helps us provide nourishing meals. For $250 a quarter, maybe that's where you're at. Maybe you want to be a quarterly partner. That helps us provide clothing to young adults and kids who, guess what? They grow. We're not in the desert times of the children of Israel. The clothes are not growing with them. They are growing out of clothes at a rate that we can't even imagine. And so providing $250 a quarter, that provides clothing for one child. Know that they have clothing needs for kids going on job interviews, because for the most part, they don't have a 3-piece suit hanging in their closet anymore. Right. We don't live in that culture. But you got to be able to show up with non-holy jeans.
Yes,
and so Kelly, they have a great story about a kid who came out to go in an interview, and I think they had to go by Marshalls.
We did.
And get him some pants on the way to his job interview. But,
those were his best jeans.
Yeah. And you know what? We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
And that's where we come along and helping them. I think that what we want to do is something that will resonate with our community, and those monthly partnerships, knowing that we have people who are in our circle and in our corner with those monthly partnerships. And that's where, it really doesn't take a lot. I mean, coffee, if you go get a cup of coffee once a week, once a day, whatever your addiction, makes you do, if you were to give one of those cups of coffee up a week and donate that to Collins Family Services, man, how awesome would that be? And the more partners that we have, the more work that we can do. And just so you guys know, the whole Shine portion of Collins is currently just volunteers. There's not a paid employee in that section of our ministry, but we recognize the way it's growing, there will have to be that very soon. And so we just encourage you guys to get in on the ground floor of something great that God is doing. And I want to just invite, those who are listening, if you've made it this far, then we've said something you're interested in. Don't hesitate to reach out. We would love to talk to you about what we're trying to accomplish together.
Thank you so much, Kelly Ross, and thank you, Kelly Liston.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to get back together again soon for another conversation.
Yes.
Sounds great. Thank you, Ann.